I wanted y'all to know that next week I'm going to be reading a book a day leading up to Easter. So I'm going to send those to your parents pretty much daily. So I'll be reading a book. I'll be reading several different books, and they'll all be Easter themed. And so I just wanted y'all to know that I will be doing that. So I'm looking forward to it, and I may have the girls with me, so you may just have to be a little patient with Miss Jillian as she's reading. But I cannot believe that I haven't seen you guys in almost a month now, and I'm just so sad. But we do know that you're staying well and safe in your home, and I hope that you're washing your hands and you're just, listening to mom or dad or your guardian, whoever you're staying with, that you're listening to them, because they're trying to take really good care of you. You know that God takes care of us and he loves us, and so he gives us parents to take care of us. And Jesus had a parent, and his name was God. And God took care of him even when it was scary, even when it was hard. God took care of him. And so I wanted to read what happened with Jesus. We left him, and he had hung on the cross, and he had died. And remember, Mary, his earthly mother, was really sad. Of course she was sad, and his friends were sad. And so this would be right after he died. And if your guardian wants to read you a portion in the Bible, this is after John 19:38 through 42. Okay? So I love these pictures. It says, here, I'm going to show them to y'all. You see right here? Okay. It said, I'm going to scoot over so y'all can maybe see. This couch is fun. It's a fun couch, but it's really old, so it's a little springy. Okay, Jesus had died, and Joseph and Nicodemus were sad. Those were his friends. And, Joseph was his dad, but they carefully took Jesus' body down from the cross, and they cleaned him. They wrapped his body in strips of white linen and carried him to a quiet cave on the hillside. And they laid Jesus down inside the cave, and they said goodbye. And before they left, they rolled a big stone over the entrance. Okay? So, this was the cross right here. You can see they're carrying his body. They have him all wrapped. Now, I think I have taught y'all this before, but around Christmas time, we talked about how Jesus was wrapped in swaddling cloths and laid in a manger. Well, these would have been the same type cloths that he was wrapped in. And that was like a hint of what was going to happen. That when he was a baby, he came to conquer death for us, for our sins. And he died, but he didn't stay dead. He conquered death. That means he defeated, he won over death. And so right here, this is reminding us that when he was a baby, he was wrapped in the same cloths and he was laid in a manger. Because remember, Mary and Joseph had traveled a far journey to Bethlehem. And typically, if something were to happen to somebody, they would keep these cloths like a first aid kit. Like your mom and dad or your guardian, they may have a Band-Aid kit, or they may keep Band-Aids everywhere just in case you get a boo-boo. Well, they would keep these cloths that way. So this is a reminder of his birth. So this was at the big tomb, which tomb means a cave, and they were going to put a big rock over it. Now, I want you to think of the biggest rock you could ever think of and think bigger. And they put it right in front because they wanted to protect him. They wanted to protect his body because Jesus was really, really well known. A lot of people knew him, and so they were worried that something would happen to his body. And so they put guards out in front, and there was a big stone, okay? It says, outside the cave, 2 guards kept watch, and the big heavy stone was sealed in place. And for 3 whole days, let's count. 1, 2, 3. 3 whole days. All was still. So the guards were there day in and day out. They probably switched out. And they guarded the cave. And do you know what happened if they didn't guard it? They were going to be put to death because they were ordered to stand there. And they took their job very seriously. So, but inside that quiet cave, God was working. If you tried to peek inside, you couldn't see anything. If you stood outside and put your ear to the big stone, you couldn't hear anything. That's like you putting your ear up to the brick wall at church or the stone wall at church and trying to hear through it, trying to hear me teach through that stone wall. If you tried to imagine what was happening, you couldn't. But inside, God was doing something utterly amazing. Something only God could do. Jesus waited, and the world held its breath and waited with him. Now, the world didn't literally hold its breath. Can you hold your breath? I know y'all probably have contests of holding breath. So, what that meant was everybody was waiting for what was going to happen. They held their breath. They didn't want to move. They didn't want to do anything because they were ready to see what was happening. Because remember, Jesus promised them that he would come back. He would return. And so they were waiting. Kind of like we're waiting on people to get well right now. They were waiting. Okay, it says, dear, and then your name. Do you like surprises? Inside that quiet cave, I was working on a surprise that no one could imagine. It would be the greatest surprise the world had ever known, and it was. Something was happening to Jesus. My son was going to have a brand new life. That didn't mean he was going to be a baby again. But for 3 whole days, the world had to wait. Love God. Did you ever have to wait on a present? Oh, it's so hard. This is like the biggest gift of all, and they had to wait 3 whole days. Okay. All right, well, I'm going to stop right here, and we're going to start the second one. So make sure you listen to the next one.